The Mandalorian, Chapter 18, The Mines of Mandalore. Or as I like to call it, Bo-Katan finally gets off the throne. She was seated for like almost 2 episodes, but she finally got up. Is she lazy, or what was she doing when Mando wasn't there? Maybe she was messing with power converters. I don't know, something. She couldn't have been just sitting there the whole time.
I like to say that we haven't talked about this, and it's great to see you and hear you. This is our weekly call. I think you might be recording this for posterity's sake, so that
Yes.
someday in 100 years, they'll be sifting through the thousands of hours, thousands and millions of hours. I'm going to look at this. Wow, look at that.
Future Padawans, future foundlings will see this.
Good to
And
see you again.
Roland, good
It's
to
good
see
to see
you,
you
brother.
again. You like this episode, or you like this episode? I like this episode.
How did you know? I did like this episode. How did you know I liked this episode?
I had no idea. That's why there was it wasn't rhetorical. Like I think you liked it. Yes, certainly you liked it. I liked it. And I
I'm happy
think
you liked it.
I'm happy that you're happy. I'm still floored that you like Teen Wolf 2, but otherwise,
Yes, I like Teen Wolf too. Jason Bateman is the man.
woof, woof,
Wolf.
no
Teen
L's.
Wolf.
There's no L's down there.
And it's TOO, so it's Teen Wolf 2? 2. Teen Wolf 2. But
Let's. Well, I have very little to say other than this is the one show that I'm fully invested in. I don't know all the TV programs you watch. You guys sit down and watch. I maybe will watch a Dateline. So I'm invested in Murder and Mayhem for that time. I'm Lester Holt. You know, we like all the whole crew of Dateline reporters. Otherwise, this show is the one show that I'm fully invested in. Everything else I can take or leave. And I've said this before, but I think this is the best thing to ever happen to Star Wars since the original trilogy. Um, I, I mean, this was Bo-Katan's best episode. I mean, she's had some great episodes, but
hey, and it was this episode premiered on National Women's Day, and it was great to see a woman save the Mandalorian not once, but twice.
that's good, honey. That's good. I called you honey.
When you call me honey, I think we need to keep this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Honey, and this is Brian Solo, and this is Grab the Remote.
It's also the triumphant return of R5D4, everyone's favorite cowardly droid.
I love R5. R5 gets a bad rap. I mean, we know he had a bad motivator, but I mean, good grief. He wasn't trying to pull anything. It was the Jawa's fault.
This is a R5 is like the Death Squad commander, very popular because it had a toy. Here he is, right? The original. So
You're so much cooler than me.
Because this is mine too. By the way, I took care of things.
Brian,
I took care of things. So
that is so awesome.
Because R5 was a toy, and we needed. I played with R5 and R2D2. I mean, all the time. I loved having another astromech. So for Favreau Filoni to bring back R5, I mean, R5 has been in a few episodes. I was thrilled to see him or her. And now that it is listen, that's why, because when I was playing with R5 as a kid, R5 was R2D2's girlfriend. That was just the way
kinky.
Anyway,
R5 and R2 and R5.
We're gonna start over again. We're gonna start over one more time. This is our second go round. So anyway, it's great to have R5, that he has a personality now, that he's like I've said before, and we can talk more about Bo-Katan, the triumphant return. But
she got off the chair. She stood up.
Certainly. Well, and she actually, some of the acting put forth really, to me, made me she's now one of my favorites. I've always liked I'm a Mandalorian helmet. I love helmets, so I think her helmet is amazing. Just the all the painting, but what she did for the episode was great. And on top of that, you just have a show that I'm fully invested in. Um, the Mandalorian is the best thing to happen to Star Wars since the original trilogy. It it outweighs everything that has happened. None of the movies can hold a candle. None of the TV shows can hold a candle to what the Mandalorian has done. And just I hope Filoni and Favreau continue to do what they're doing, because they need to be the only voice steering Star Wars.
I agree with that until I change my mind.
Sounds good.
I do change my mind a lot with Star Wars, but as of now, I completely agree with you.
The I kind of went all in on Din Djarin being, a cultist, like in this cult, and how that kind of mirrors life in the world when it comes to sex and cults. But he also is, he was obviously indoctrinated as a child, and now that played out as he as he was dipping himself. Bo-Katan read the plaque. The plaque is all about ancient folklore, and it looks like all of that is true, and we are finally going to see. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I've never seen a mythosaur before.
I don't think we have either, unless we saw it in one of the animated versions, but I don't recall.
I was trying to figure out if the creature that Boba Fett rode in the Star Wars Holiday Special was that, and I just don't think it is. He was riding some.
Yeah, I think the mythosaur is bigger.
Yeah. So you got to see that, and again, this was just a great episode. The Grogu, Mando. You also have this. How about the creature that's kind of like he's from the Matrix, but it's also like Mike Wazowski from Monsters Inc. The thing that like grabs Mando. How did you feel about that character?
Are we talking about the one eye that went from that thing was so cool. Was it an eye or was it a video of an eye? Like, was it a computer display of an eye, or was it an eye inside
I have no idea. I just thought it was a little eyeball driving a machine,
It was really cool, and we should find. I'm embarrassed I don't know the name, but it was cool. Right. Or have they released the name? I don't know, but that was really cool.
I'm not looking at names, but I do know that Bo-Katan called the Neanderthal monsters. What are they called? Alamites.
Yes,
so
Alamites.
Alamites that get.
And I believe we've seen the Alamites before. But the one-eyed jumping from droid to droid, I don't think we have seen.
Yeah, I like that. That's going to be a cool toy, I would say.
I was just thinking that. I was like, I think I'm going to buy that toy. And the R5 I did have as a kid, but I'm not as cool as you because I lost it along the way. But it was cool in a sandbox somewhere. But it was cool during the episode. Wait, dadgummit, I used to have that toy.
Yeah.
Let me backtrack a little bit. So for those that listen to the previous episode, I was not a big fan of Season 3, Episode 1, the season opener. I thought it was too short, and they missed a lot of things. And I wasn't crazy about the IG-11 storyline. And I noticed he came in that first scene with Peli. I love Peli. I'm a Peli fan. I don't know where you are with that, but I love Peli. She's such a cool character, I think. Really funny. But and he comes in and he asks about an IG-11 piece. And I said, I think I said it out loud. Oh man, because are we still going to that? But it looks like with him getting R5, are they just going to ditch that whole IG-11 thing? Or are they going to bring it back?
No way. That would be the biggest dead end of all time. That's what J.J. Abrams would do. That's the mystery box. Let's say we're going to do something and then never pay it off. IG-11 will be back. I mean, he'll be back next episode, I would say.
Okay.
And then
I don't know how I feel about that, but
you'll have, we need it. R5 is Peli's. So he'll go back to to the garage, and then you're going to have one of my favorite characters, IG-11, back, which is all. I mean, really, I'm so invested that I can sort of bend the rules a little. Like, of course, he was completely obliterated, and of course, he was made a statue, and now he's going to come back to us. And I think those contributions that Tiki made when as the voice of IG-11, I think that's going to come in. I think it's going to be an added bonus. I mean, it was a bummer that character was gone. When you lose Queel and IG-11, two wonderful characters.
Queel, best.
Justice for Queel always. I miss Queel. I'll always miss him. I put him. I mean, really, top 10. He's in my top 10 characters.
My favorite thing Nick Nolte has done since 48 Hours. I mean, I loved it so much.
Since the Prince of Tides, he's never
the Prince of Tides. Or since another 48 Hours. That should have made our sequels list. But anyway, I digress. Yeah. But let's go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. Whatever you're going to say is much better than I have nothing. I'm when I said R5D4 is a coward, that's probably the extent of my great contributions.
Well, I now can't think of R5 without thinking of R2 and R5 together in some romantic scenario that you put together in your head.
It was just that, that was just, again, I'm 4 years old or 5 years old, and that was the thing, like, R2 is your girlfriend.
I love it. R5. So I think this episode for me brought, I think, my favorite opening shot of any Mandalorian episode, and just that initial shot of Tatooine up from the sky. It was like a drone was shooting Tatooine, and we see that little race going on. And what is that thing called?
It's Boonta Eve.
Boonta Eve.
Let's celebrate.
All right. Here, let me admit something. When he talked about Boonta Eve in Phantom Menace, I didn't think of Eve like Christmas Eve, like a holiday. I thought it was like an area. It's at Boonta Eve. I was thinking it was a location, but no, it's some holiday that they celebrate.
Certainly.
Yes.
I'm going to shift gears since you talked about opening shots, and I will say that another beautiful shot was coming into Mandalore from the clouds.
Yeah.
And they're doing. We talked a little bit about the huts, the two huts that looked awful. There's some bad CGI, but man, they're doing some. I mean, this is you really don't say movie quality anymore. Most TV shows now they're throwing a lot of money at it, and this movie quality.
I like to say cinema level.
Cinema level. There you go. Well, it's
cinema level.
It's all cinema level now, I believe. So those shots are phenomenal. We've talked a lot about the music, but the score, they do a wonderful job with the music.
Speaking of music, I like Bo-Katan's theme.
So
down. So I think it's guitar, or a synthesized guitar. It sounds pretty cool. Down. It sounds pretty cool. At least to my ears, it does. My simple-minded ears.
I like, Grogu really worried about his dad. And those, I mean, again, we're talking about a little puppet, and for them they did the same thing with Yoda, because Frank Oz is a genius, but to these characters they've created, I mean, Grogu has now probably has more screen time than Yoda ever will.
True.
And I think that there's only with those, again, with Filoni, Favreau, they could take this, I don't know how long, but I mean, to me, there has to be a logical conclusion that they come to. But we are, what are we, it's 16, 17, and we're 18 episodes in over a course of many years. And again, I can't think of a better Star Wars series. I know that people are really on board with Andor, but I just love this series. And, again, I give it a pass. A lot of things I don't give a pass to, as you know, but like for this, if there's some things that are a little, sometimes I guess you could say that I'm just like the original trilogy. Like I feel a kinship to it because I'm on board with it. So I can't wait to see the mythosaur. I mean, I think we're gonna obviously this is gonna be something since we're in a mythosaur lair. Now that Din has done his duty of whatever he had to do as a in his sect, this is going to lead us down an interesting path because now Bo-Katan understands that whatever she was talking about, and that's to me interesting because you have, as you know, it is very difficult to make someone else believe what you believe, especially in these regards, right? But those kind of conversations, politics, religion, those are tough conversations. For Bo-Katan to kind of have proof positive that something other than what she believes has happened is going to be an interesting.
Or maybe she did believe as a kid, and then she grew up like, this is not true.
Right. Well, yeah, the idea of like you believe certain things and you realize, oh, well, that's a myth. And so everything about it was, I mean, she was basically reading the plaque to make him know, like she's being kind of passive aggressive. Here's the plaque. This is nothing. You're going into, gross waters. That's all it is. And so to see the mythosaur, to realize that actually there's something to this, that's interesting because, Din has to understand that these things are flawed. I mean, all of the of their belief system in some ways has flaws in it. So that's going to be. I like this. I like that. And again, there's the dark saber. Of course, he's still having trouble wielding that, and that's going to come up. I'm interested in what's going to happen to the dark saber.
And Bo-Katan was a little better on the dark saber. Well, so is that going to come up again?
It will. I mean, I don't think that. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Mandalore now? But the air is clean. Or at least it's not toxic.
Clean enough, right?
Right. So I think that's obviously they're telegraphing something there. Something's going to happen with the planet. So there you have it.
There's two things I wrote down that I wanted to ask you about. One, I've heard recently that in universe, and this might have been a what do you call it? A retcon, but that Grogu was with Luke for 2 years. Have you heard that?
I have not. As you know, I don't know what the internet is, and I don't read anything.
Gotcha.
I'm joking. I don't know that, but again, like that's interesting information because again with availability, what's the delicious? Drink up. I like that. It's a beautiful glass you have there. Looks like an antique, like a beautiful antique glass.
I love these glasses that we got. Okay. They're not antiques, but I love it. I don't know how you describe it, but I love it. It's like the water tastes better. It's just so good. Because
of the glass. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So I haven't read that, and that's an interesting take because we need to go back to kind of the backstory of, there's got to be maybe a flashback, but Grogu has the cutest chainmail armor. Don't forget his little chainmail.
And now he can flip. He can flip.
He can flip. He can talk. He's saying words. He said that Peli thinks he said his first word. It's just absolutely adorable. So yeah, that's a good point. I don't know the answer.
And will he speak like Yoda? Will he say the way this is instead of this is the way?
We'll find out, won't we? I guess we'll have to find out. I don't know if that's Yoda's. That's specific to him for whatever reason. We'll have to see.
Second thing I wrote down: Bo-Katan and Mando. Will they become lovers? I never thought of it until this episode.
No, they won't.
Okay.
There'll be a partnership there, but we've already had this discussion.
You're very sure of yourself this episode.
Am I? Well, the one I've already given my prediction. He'll go back to the woman and the child in that village scenario. That'll come back around. Previously on the Mandalorian, and you're going to see them, and then that's going to be the end of the episode. The end of the saga is him retiring.
And notice they no longer say, and I think this is a choice. Obviously, it was a choice. They no longer say previously on the Mandalorian. Now they just say previously. Previously.
Right. Previously. just in case Book of Boba Fett comes up at all. There's
Yes.
something about that. I act like I don't keep up with things, but the rumor is, maybe it's not even a rumor, that Tamora Morrison was very unhappy with this season of Book of Boba Fett. He felt
Well,
like
he
it was
should be. A third of the short-lived series was Mando. I mean, there was one episode that was definitely a Mandalorian episode.
I felt like it. Again, I think there was. I don't. Again, there's so much drama and weirdness with Disney, as we all know. But it just seemed like you take a character that has so much. There's so much love with Boba Fett based on really nothing, right? Like the idea that he's shrouded in mystery, and now his
He
helmet's
looked
off.
cool.
He's talking, all those things, and again the flashbacks inside of the back the tank. There were some things that needed to change, and I would say one of them, and I think maybe one of his, was that he wanted to keep his helmet on, like what he always did, right? So to give him this, and again, I liked that Boba Fett had an edge to him because he was a bad guy, right? I mean, straight up, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, that was the new bad guy. Now he's the good guy. So there are some things, but so we'll have to see.
A good guy gangster. He wants to be this touchy-feely gangster. There were a couple times in Book of Boba Fett. It kind of reminded me of, and this is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt. The Godfather Part 3. A little bit. It's like, all right, so you're gonna be a bad guy or not? Like, where are we with this? But there's some stuff about Book of Boba Fett I enjoyed. But the fact that if what you're saying is true, and I've heard that too, that he was really not happy with it, then maybe there's hope for season 2, and maybe this could be. I mean, his nemesis. I mean, the kites, whatever they're called, they didn't work for me. That awful bike crew. I mean, I felt like they were messing with us. I'm like, really?
That's behind the scenes stuff of these. Again, there's a lot of drama.
Like, I laughed out loud when I saw that, and I thought, people are going to hate this little biker crew. And it's like, how does that get past, the board or whatever? How does someone not stand up like, no, this is ridiculous?
Wait a minute. You're not asking that question because they actually did make The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. So, yes, it's getting past the board. And not only that, we've had our hiatus, Candler, right? We were on our hiatus. But in that hiatus, they made the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which is one of the worst things that could ever happen to Star Wars. I can talk you to at least about 4 or 5 points where it almost ruins A New Hope based on the storyline. It actually tries to destroy, not unlike the Emperor returning in Rise of Skywalker, makes Vader's sacrifice in Return of the Jedi completely hollow. And Obi-Wan Kenobi series, they should be ashamed of themselves for the stupidity that they put down on the page and then filmed. And that sounds a little harsh, but it's terrible. And Obi-Wan left him on the lava bank alive once. And for goodness sake, he left him alive again. That is sheer stupidity for them to write that. For them to actually have Reva really be a secret good guy. And for Vader, it made Vader look like a total schmuck. And I really haven't talked about this much. And it's not like I even have it in any notes. But if we're talking about what's happening, the state of Star Wars, I really want you to go back and go, like, really, Obi-Wan Kenobi was quite abysmal. And you can't, and again, opinions are going to vary, of course. But if you look at it, not unlike how The Last Jedi did some weird moves, and you go, oh no, like, that's weird. Like, why would they do that? Same thing with Obi-Wan.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I do want to watch Andor again, but Obi-Wan I never want to watch again. Although there were some scenes that I enjoyed. I kind of like seeing the half Anakin, half Vader.
Well, that's
That
a
was
visual though. So you're talking
that's
about
what I'm
a
talking about.
visual.
There was some visual. That's what I mean. There's some visuals that I liked,
Like,
but
give me a good visual with a story that makes sense. And I tell you what, The Last Jedi was a
agreed.
beautiful. Last Jedi was a beautifully filmed movie. Like I mean, he knows what to point at, but there's some really bad choices, and they committed to them, and then they had to. And then you see how JJ tried to come in and fix everything with the Rise of Skywalker. He tried to
Right.
fix. It was like a game of yes and that where the person who was supposed to yes and says no but, and then
Yes,
anyway, this has
completely agreed.
has just become very negative.
Well, let's leave it on a positive note. What are things we're looking forward to for the rest of the season with the Mandalorian?
Well, yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with IG-11 and how if that works, if it feels like it works. Because I mean, I just lambasted so many different things. If I feel like the IG-11 thing doesn't work, I'll say something. I won't be. I'll tell you what. Again, seeing more of the Mandalorians doing things is awesome. Seeing Bo-Katan in action. She's been in action, but she was great in that episode. So, what about you?
Well, I still think we're going to see an original trilogy character other than Luke this season. I think it's going to be Lando. That's just my random prediction.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we might see Luke again this season.
Well, I hope so. I do hope so. And I hope that there's a little bit more of R5D4.
Yes,
Give me more
the man.
R5D4.
Well, this has been fun. Remember, the Force will be with you always.
And also with you.